Hello and welcome to the Property Podcast. It is episode 79. That's 79 consecutive weeks of the Property Podcast. Not even Christmas stops this roadshow. I'm Rob B, as always. With me, as always, is Rob D. Hello, Rob. How are we?
Hello. We are very well indeed. Thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm on tip-top form, thank you. Very well. Cheers.
Well, we are talking accidental landlords today, and this is another one that was suggested to us at our meetup a couple of weeks back. Someone spoke to us who said that we'd never covered anything other than intentional property investing. So we're going to be putting that right today. And we've also got a news story and a resource and reviews and all sorts as ever. It's going to be another packed show.
It is. And of course, we've given it an awful title. Help, I'm an accidental landlord. Get me out of here. No celebrities exiting the jungle. Just good knowledge and advice, hopefully. This week, what have we done, Rob? What haven't we done? It's been a busy week. We've worked pretty hard on Yellow over the last week, as we do every week, but we seem to be really focusing on our systems and everything that's going on over there. It's all very exciting, but rather than bore you with the ins and outs of our daily grind, why don't we give more stuff away free?
Yeah, let's do that. So what should we do first? Shall we make the really big announcement or the slightly smaller announcement?
Well, you're making the smaller announcement not sound so good, which still is very good, which is it's another free course for us to give away. So if you missed the announcement a couple of weeks ago, we said that we're going to be giving away our courses, which we've charged for previously, away for free. Yeah, this is not temporary. From now on, all our courses will be free. So we're releasing them one by one. Last week was the paperless property system, and this week we're releasing Running the Numbers. Rob D put this one together. So Rob, do you want to run through this course, what it's about and what people are going to get from it?
Yeah, so this is one that was pretty popular, and because I put it together because everyone always wants spreadsheets. Everyone wants to know how to analyse a deal, and so this is a course that I put together to show how I do it. So in this course, I basically just give away the spreadsheet that I use to analyse my deals and talk through it, show how you can just find a property on Rightmove, find out the relevant information about it and plug it in to see what kind of a deal it is. And obviously you end up looking at your net yield and your ROI, which are the key numbers. So I've got other spreadsheets that I use for more specialised things, but this is the general kind of everyday bread and butter thing. It's nothing immensely complicated, but I think that's the strength of it. It's something that's really easy to use. So if you just spend half an hour watching the course, learning how it all works, then every time the deal comes up, it's a 1-minute job to take a look and see how it's going to work out. So it's a basic one, but it's something that people have found very useful, I know, and now it's free. So do get over to thepropertyhub.net/products and you can grab it.
You can. But as we've hinted, that's not our biggest announcement. Just because we hate sleep, we've decided to launch a new podcast.
Yeah, so this could be related to why our daily grind is such a grind, because we're constantly giving stuff away and starting new things. But it's hard not to, because we're so excited by everything and there's so much more that we want to do. But this new podcast, I'm really excited about because it's a way of getting even more visibility to some of the amazing stuff that's going on the Property Hub blog. So on there, we write posts on there, but we also have a team of guest experts who write posts for us. There's something new every single week. And in this new podcast, we're actually going to be reading those posts out loud and discussing them a little bit. So it means that if you like to get your information by listening, so you like to listen to podcasts on the move and you don't have that much time for sitting in front of a screen and reading, which I completely understand, it means you're not going to miss out. So that's going to be a new podcast every single week. So you're now going to have 2 separate property podcasts to listen to.
Now, that might sound like a weird format. Well, you're going to read blogs and then comment on them, but actually, I know most of the people who listen to this, because the fact you do listen, you prefer to consume your content by audio. I am certainly one of you. I love blogs, but I have to sit down and intentionally read them. So to have that great content given to me on the move is fantastic. A couple of podcasts in different sectors have started to do this, and I found it very useful, and I'm sure you all will too. So we'll give you more and more information on that over the next few weeks. The launch date is not too far away. We'll, of course, ask for your support because, of course, it's free again. So we're going to pump it out there. We hope you love it. We hope you enjoy it. Your feedback is crucial. If you love it, we'll carry on. If it's not for you, we'll just stop it. But we think, and touch wood, that you're really going to enjoy it and you're really going to appreciate it. Yeah, we're pretty excited. Just something else to keep us occupied, Rob.
Yes, indeed. Well, enough about us. Let's get moving on to the news story this week. And this week, more optimistic news for property, Rob.
It is. This is quite an interesting report. It was covered in City AM, which is a paper you can only get in London, I believe. It's a financial free paper in London. But the article is actually taking data from Lloyd's, and it looks at different asset classes. Lloyd's look at different asset classes and they survey their audience. They found the area that investors are most optimistic about is property. Now, of course, that's why it's made our show. It also talks about equities, which are shares, which comes second. But property basically got a score of 38%. So it's all the people who are positive minus all the people who are negative on that asset class. So it showed that overall property was 38. It then showed British equities were 33, had a net balance of 33. And then third was way down at 16. So property still seems to be the darling of investments for UK investors. And to be fair, it's not, although we do the property podcast, it doesn't come as a great shock to me anyway, because property is just so much easier to understand for everyone and easier for people to get their heads around. We live in them. We walk past them every day. Understanding shares, funds, indexes, whatever, it requires a deeper level of understanding and knowledge that people aren't exposed to in the day-to-day world.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how that figure's changed from a year ago, but I suspect that people have been a lot more positive. Now we've started to see a bit of a recovery and it's been in the press and everything. But I think property is always going to be a very popular asset class, even if it's not having one of its best periods. It's always going to capture people's imagination. It's something that people are always going to be keen on investing. Like you always hear about people wanting to save up for their first home or get a second home or get an investment. You never really hear the same thing about wanting to save up for your first shares of some random manufacturing company or something. It doesn't really capture the imagination in the same way. But interesting report, linked to from the show notes, of course, which this week are at thepropertyhub.net/accidental, which links us in nicely to our topic of the week, which is help, I'm an accidental landlord, get me out of here. As I said at the start, we've got someone who came to our meetup. I'm afraid I can't remember his name, but he said to us, you should do something about becoming an accidental landlord, because a lot of people are in that position. And we thought, yep, 79 episodes in, it's probably about time we did. So that's what we're going to do. Lots of people start out their property investment journey as an accidental landlord. And for some people, that's as far as it goes. And for some people, it's a springboard to actually go on and start investing in property more intentionally. So we're going to talk about if this is happening to you, if you're becoming an accidental landlord at the moment, or you have done recently, some of the things that you should do and some of the things you should be thinking about. And if you started out as an accidental landlord, you can think back and sort of think, well, did I do all this stuff and how did it work out for me? So it's kind of a back to basics kind of episode, really. If you're a regular listener, there's probably not going to be a ton in here that's completely a bolt from the blue for you. But even if that is your situation, it should still be useful to think back to how you started out and see how you mapped onto what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we did our basic episodes in sort of the first 3 or 4 and then went on to all different subjects from there. So it's just a good recap, a good refresh to make sure you're getting the basics right and then you can build on all that other knowledge. So if you have done a lot of investment, don't feel, oh, this is not for me, because the basics, sometimes we've got to get those right before we do anything else. So first one, Rob, is ensure that you're on the right mortgage product.
Yeah. So let's take the situation of you've become an accidental landlord because you've relocated for work. So the house that you used to live in, you now need to rent out. Or you could even say that you've moved in with your partner. So you both had a flat, but then you've decided to move in together and you want to hold on to the one you've already got. Both really common situations for people getting started. So in either of those situations, you've got a house that you've owned, which you're likely to have a residential mortgage on. You will have a residential mortgage on. If you are now letting it out, it's really important to change that to an appropriate mortgage product. So there are 2 things that you can do. You can either get consent to let from your lender, which means that you keep the same mortgage product that you were on before, but you get their permission to vary the terms so you can rent it out, or you remortgage onto a whole different specialist buy-to-let mortgage product. Now, you might think, yeah, but that sounds like a lot of hassle to me. As long as I keep on making my payments every month, they're not going to notice. What does it matter? Well, it does matter, because if you let out a property without permission to do so, it is a massive breach of your mortgage terms. And as brokers keep telling me, they always get people coming to them really panicky because their lender is calling in their loan because they've been in breach of their terms. And lenders do check on this stuff. And so they'll do things like they'll check on the electoral roll and they'll do all kinds of other things to try and get a feeling of whether you're living in the property that you should be. And so, as I said, they will call in the loan or take some kind of measures if they detect that you're doing something that you shouldn't be. So you will have to change to a different product. It's probably worth you taking advice about whether you just get consent to let, which is probably the best thing to do if you're just going to be doing it for a short time, or switching to a buy-to-let product. Either way, you'll have to be aware that you're probably going to have some extra expenses in there. So buy-to-let rates are normally higher than residential rates. If you go for consent to let, they will definitely charge you an admin fee of some kind. They'll probably charge a higher rate as well, or maybe they'll keep you on your current rate for a bit and then put the rate up. It will be more expensive for you, but it's essential to get your property business off onto a firm footing. And it is a property business. It might not feel like it. It might feel like you've just had to let your house out so you can move for work. But as soon as you do that, like it or not, you are in the business of renting out a property. And there's a few things that we're going to talk about that kind of talk about what responsibilities you have as a result, but it creates opportunities as well. So that's the first step, getting the mortgage product right.
It is. And remember that if you do switch to a buy-to-let, you probably then can change to interest-only mortgages, which if you're new to investment, you might go interest-only. Why don't I want to pay the mortgage down? Go back to our mortgage episodes and we talk about the advantages of interest-only, and also check the inflation episode as well, because then if you do decide you're in it for the long term, then interest-only is a far more effective tool for you. But that is all down to if you decide this is for you in the first place. So maybe this should have been point number one, but the circumstances for you becoming an accidental landlord are varied. You know, you could be relocating, moving in with a partner. It could be difficulty selling your property. There's so many reasons why you could potentially become an accidental landlord. Before you crack on with this path, don't feel like you have to. Be sure it's the right path for you. Hopefully this discussion will help you establish the facts, but there may be the fact that you just do it for as short as term as possible and then get out. But by going through the rest of the things that we're going to cover now, you can decide, well, yeah, this is for me or this is or not. I'm guessing that if you're listening to the Property Podcast and you're a regular listener, it probably is for you. So we're going to assume that it is. And the next thing you need to be aware. And be aware of the big bad tax man.
Yes, I'm getting all the exciting points today, aren't I? So, yeah, after speaking to your lender and doing some paperwork there, it's now time for more paperwork. So you've got to, as I said earlier, you now have a business of running a property, whether you like it or not. And that means if you're making money for it, you need to declare that property income to HMRC on your tax return. Exciting stuff, but it is really important because if you fail to declare rental income, there are big penalties and it is a criminal offence. And HMRC are clamping down on this in a big way as well. Typically, if you just have your tax deducted by your employer, you don't fill in a tax return yourself, that means that in a lot of cases, people will either not realise they have to do it or they will think, oh, well, how are they going to find me? And historically, they haven't. A lot of people have got away with not paying any tax on their rental income. But there is a really big clampdown on this at the moment. And in particular, letting agencies are being written to, being asked to supply lists of all rents paid out to landlords over the last year, where the landlord lives, where the property is, how much they've been paid. HMRC is not messing around on this. Even if you could have got away with it in the past, or maybe you're trying to get away with it now, I'd suggest putting a stop to that because they're going to catch up with you. And of course they can, as well as taking all the tax that they historically are entitled to, they can levy penalties as well. It is a case of being aware. You can become a landlord as an accident, but you can't continue running that property in an accidental ad hoc kind of way. There are some things that you have to put in place. We're probably making it sound more scary than it is. There are a few basics that you need to make sure are covered.
And if tax doesn't float your boat, don't worry. The next point is insurance. I promise the last few points are more exciting. Okay, so insurance. If you've suddenly moved out your property, you're renting it out, you may have sorted somebody above out, but check your insurance. Ordinary residential insurance may refuse to pay out if they find out your property is let. So check that your insurance covers buy-to-let situations as well. Normally you have to go through a specialist or at least let the insurance company know so they could either say, yes, we can adapt the policy, it already covers you, or no, you're going to have to move policies. check. I know insurance is uber dull. It really is. Nobody gets excited by insurance. But what's the point in paying for it? And then something goes wrong and you have to pay all out yourself anyway. So it may be dull. It may not be exciting, but a quick phone call can set you on the right path. So make sure that the insurance that you have on your property covers you for buy-to-let situations.
Yeah, exactly. This is where things start getting a little bit more exciting now. So you're in this position where you become an accidental landlord. You, for whatever reason, needed to move out of your home and let it. So you've made sure you're on an appropriate mortgage product. You're declaring your tax. You've sorted out your insurance. Now you can start thinking about what an opportunity this is and deciding whether this is something that you want to continue with. So as part of that, you want to conduct a financial audit, which might not sound exciting, but it actually is. So this is taking a look at your current circumstances and working out things like the market value of your property, the mortgage outstanding, the savings you've got, and using it as an opportunity to look at what position you're in financially. And you can start deciding what to do next. So the running the numbers course that is now free that we talked about earlier ties into this as well. You can now stop thinking about your home as the place that you live and start thinking about it as an investment and start looking at how it's going to perform for you. So you can take all the numbers, you can sort of take its value and the rent you're getting in and plug it all into the spreadsheet in there and see how it performs as an investment. That might make you realize, oh, this is actually pretty good. If I could have another 3 of these, I'd be doing all right. Or you might realize that obviously you didn't buy it as an investment. It doesn't particularly stack up brilliantly as one. There are better things out there. So you might sort of start putting a medium-term plan in place to sell that property and acquire a different one. But the first step to all that is actually sort of taking an honest look at your finances and working out where you are. And if you are a true accidental landlord, this might be something you've not done before. We've been doing this for a long time now. A lot of listeners have their financial goals in place and take these things very seriously. But I think we forget sometimes that the majority of people probably never really sat down and thought seriously about their finances. For most people, as long as there is sort of still money in the bank account by the time the next payday rolls around, that's all that matters. So if you haven't thought about your finances much, this is a great opportunity to do so. So conduct that financial audit and sort of see where you're up to and use that as a springboard for deciding what to do next.
Also, if you're new to property investment, and actually I know a lot of property investors don't do this as well, so work out what your net worth is. It might scare you, it might please you. You might be in the red. Do a financial audit, establish your net worth as well, and then that links nicely to our next point, which is establish your goals. Because if you know where your starting point is, then it will help you set your end point, which is why point 6 is establish your goals. So you may have not planned on becoming a landlord, but it doesn't mean you can't take advantage of the situation and work it into your long-term financial goals. Think about where you are now. Think about where you want to be, say, maybe 10 years, maybe 3 years. Break it down to whatever suits you, and then think about how property can help you. If you're a long-time listener, you know we're pretty partial to goals. We've done a course on it, which is free in the Property Hub. So if you go to thepropertyhub.net/products, there's a goals course there. We've done podcasts on it. We've done podcasts on Dreamlines. We are massive on goals, and there's a reason for it. The reason why people ask us, how do you guys get so much done? And I would say a big part of it is we are regularly setting goals. Right, what do we want to achieve this quarter? What do we want to achieve this year? What do we want to achieve in the next 3 years? We do it individually and we do it together. Establishing goals can really change your life. I know it sounds dramatic, but it does. I can promise you, if you take goal setting seriously, then it can make a big difference. So if you've become an investor, set your goals for the future if you think this could be for you, and then see how property can lead you there. If you are an investor already and you haven't set your goals yet, that's me slapping your hand. Shame on you. Go and do it now as well. Go and visit those courses, because I can promise you it's almost, if not more important than all the knowledge, because setting the goals will give you the focus, and the focus will mean that you're more likely to be successful.
An impassioned speech there, Rob. I like it.
Oh, you know I love it.
I love it. You're absolutely right. Of course you are. On top of that, though, goals are not the only thing. Goals are a prerequisite, but there's no good just coming up with a goal and then just kind of hoping it happens. You've got to have a strategy in place as well. So this is the final point. So having worked out the position you're in and working out where you want to be, You then need to have a strategy that's going to get you from one place to the other. And really, that is just a plan that means that you're always taking action, you're taking the right kind of action, and you're stopping life from getting in the way. Because if you've become an accidental landlord, this wasn't something that you were planning on doing. It's not like you have all these oceans of time that you wanted to fill up by learning about property or going around viewing properties or doing whatever. So you need to actually make sure that you do what needs to be done. So coming up with a strategy just means you need to kind of form a plan that you can just execute over time, and you know that by the time you're done, you will have reached your goals. This could involve a few different things. Your strategy could actually involve selling the property that you've been renting out because it doesn't perform brilliantly as an investment, taking the money from that, splitting it and investing it into other properties. It could be taking some equity out of the property that you've already got, keeping hold of it and using that to get another one. There's all sorts that it could involve, but you can't really know what the answer to that is until you've got your goals. But having done that, get that strategy in place and make sure it happens. Make sure you don't stray too far from your chosen path. You'll always be tweaking it because you're always going to be learning, and learning should be a big part of your strategy as well, making sure that you develop that knowledge. So you're always going to be tweaking it. But you need to make sure that you start out with a plan, the best plan that you can for the moment, and make sure that you start working towards those lofty goals of yours. So really, that is about it. That's about how you should handle becoming an accidental landlord in a nutshell. It's about getting yourself, first of all, on the right footing and making sure that you tick all the boxes that need to be ticked. Not exciting, but very important. And moving from there into actually seeing how can I turn this from something that's been perhaps not my choice to a really great opportunity. I'm really glad we've done this episode because I know so many people who started out this way. I get emails from people who say, I'm 19, I love property, I want to make a career out of it, what can I do? And that's absolutely brilliant, but that's outnumbered at least 5-1 from the emails I get from people saying, I've just had to move for work and rent out my house, and I came across the podcast as a result, got really excited about property, now this is what I'm doing. It's such a common situation. So if you are in that situation, I'd say embrace it. It might not have been what you were planning to do, but if it's happened to you, and if you're now listening to the podcast, so you're clearly someone who's got some kind of interest in it, it doesn't freak you out completely, then take it as an opportunity. Start diving into it, and you'll probably get as obsessed as we are quite quickly.
You will, definitely. I'm glad we did this. I was a little bit tentative about doing this episode because it's like, well, we did the basics 70-odd episodes ago, but I think it's good to do a refresh because the basics, I think sometimes we can miss them. Because I know there'll be experienced landlords listening, investors listening to this, who will go, I've done 6 of the 7 points, but actually I've missed that one, or maybe I didn't do as much as I should have. So hopefully that's been useful for not just accidental landlords, but for all our listeners, and at the very least, mildly entertaining. So next up, Rob, our resource of the week. I use this quite a bit for speaking to our international clients with RMP and Yellow. But you must live in this app.
Oh, I do. This is my homepage. But it's not quite. But it practically is. World Time Buddy is what it's called. worldtimebuddy.com. We'll link to it in the show notes, of course, at thepropertyhub.net/accidental. This is a scheduling tool for dealing with those pesky time zones. And there are plenty of them, but this is a really good one. The thing that I like about it most is if you're trying to organize a meeting or something with people in different places, you can put in the places where the participants currently are. It'll then give you a really nice, easy visual view of the time so you can see what overlaps. You can then make some suggested times on there and send that as a link to everyone who you're trying to schedule with so they can see what's going on as well. And it just makes things so much easier. There are lots of these things out there, but World Time Buddy is the one that I've come back to time and time again because it really does make things super easy.
So, of course, that'll be linked to in the show notes as well, because I know many people listen to this on the move, like myself. If you want to get any of the links that we've talked about today, go to thepropertyhub.net/accidental. Now, Rob, before we sort of wrap up, I think we need to let everyone know it's been a bit of a milestone for the property podcast for us over the last week. We get a lot of downloads, and now it's totting up at 40,000 a month, but it wasn't always that high. And we've just gone through 500,000 downloads.
We have. It feels great to hear you say it. We see the number every time we log in to look at the behind the scenes of the Property Hub. We can still see the number creeping up. So I just noticed a couple of weeks ago that we were close, and then lo and behold, there it did. It crossed the big 500. So absolutely brilliant to have achieved that. It is just a number, but it's a big number, and we're really proud of it. So thank you to everyone who listens. It is all thanks to you. And every one of those listens is a person who we're hoping had a good experience with it, and we hope it keeps coming back. And it is all thanks to our listeners. So thank you so much to everyone who's listened so far. And please keep doing it and keep spreading the word. We want a million.
We do. And that links into our review segment, because it's the people who support us, it's the people who listen, that help us do all these things, that help us launch courses for free, that help us launch new podcasts, because without this support, there's no point in doing it. So thank you to Adam, who's left us a review this week. So a big round of applause to Adam. And it says, caution, I stumbled across this podcast little over 3 weeks ago, and I have become very bored of playing games on my phone during the arduous 5-hour round-trip journeys to work. 5 hours! And I was hooked straight away. R&R, rest and relaxation they are not, present the world of property investment in a very easy-to-follow, attention-holding way. I titled this review with a caution because after listening to these podcasts, I feel like I've opened a Pandora's box of kittens on me. I have a long list of books that I want to read, and after their business episodes, I have a bunch of other people to be inspired by too. All great stuff, not quite kittens, but still great stuff. Thanks guys for your inspirational work and encouragement. Adam, long-time listener, first-time reviewer.
What a fantastic review. Thank you, Adam. That's brilliant.
Super. But he says, stumbled across it 3 weeks ago, but long-time listener. I've known people who've listened for longer than 3 weeks. Thank you, Adam. Really, really appreciate the review.
Yeah, love it. Thank you. So that's about us for this week. Thank you again for listening. Do remember to go and check out our new free course if you haven't already. Just go to thepropertyhub.net/accidental and you'll find a direct link over to that one. And make sure you tune in next week where we're going to be revealing more about this new podcast. And we're going to be telling you more about how you can become one of the very first listeners and support us with that as you have supported us with the Property Podcast. And also next week, our main topic is going to be property joint ventures. So we had quite a broad episode this week. We'll be getting into a lot more specifics next time round because joint ventures, it's a topic that comes up all the time. It's a topic where there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. So we're going to be putting some of that right and getting into joint ventures next time.
We are. So until then, thank you everyone again, once again. I know we thank you regularly because we're very grateful. You put us where we are. So thank you for our 500,000 downloads. It's unbelievable. Thanks for listening. We look forward to coming back to you with episode 80 next week.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Property Podcast. Make sure you join our mailing list at thepropertypodcast.com.
And remember, we love 5-star reviews. Rob even loves them more than air miles.